All right, we are unmuted, and so the audience knows it does record your voices.
I'll keep it open.
Because I would have been here. Down in Dash.
There she is.
Okay.
It's almost like, yes, now it's 6 o'clock.
So I meet.
All rise, please. We're going to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll do a roll call.
Odo Johnson,
Here.
Kate Johnston.
Here.
Diana Mendoza, Nikki Pettit,
Here.
Tyler Wilson,
Here.
Robin Vaughn,
Here.
John Brotherton.
Here. And we'll move to number 2, action agenda addition, corrections, and modifications. I'll make the motion. Motion to approve the agenda, removing and correcting items as presented. Can I get a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome.
Odo Johnson,
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson,
Aye.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye. Moving on, number 3, truth and taxation hearing. The purpose of the truth and taxation hearing is to inform the public that the Board of Education intends to take action to increase the annual tax levy by greater than
5%.
compared with last year's 2022 levy, and provide the public an opportunity to present oral or written comments or testimony. Are there any comments from the board members? Anybody have a comment? Okay. We'll now move on to written testimony. Is there any written testimony regarding the tax levy? We will move on to oral testimony or any public comment concerning this. Anybody in the public? Okay. Let's turn the page. Now, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn the truth and taxation
Can I have a
hearing.
second on that?
I'll second that.
Katie, second. Okay.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson,
Aye.
Diana Mendoza, Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Odo Johnson,
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Thank you, Nikki. Okay, we're moving to number 4, the action, approve the tax levy.
All right.
Let me make the motion too. You want to talk?
I should explain it maybe.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
The board is asked to approve the resolution concerning and affecting the tax levy for 2023, which will result in a reduction in the likely property tax rate. The proposed property tax levy is in the amount of $6,856,827. If the extension, which means the tax is collected, matches the levy, this would represent a 6.54% increase in total local property tax revenues to the district, which is why we had to do a truth and taxation hearing. However, due to the tax cap law, the likely extension will not exceed $6,761,827, which is a 5.07% increase in revenues. The likely tax rate will decrease from 4.5592 to 4.2997. The increase in revenue is a result of an increase in property value, not an increase in the tax rate.
When you write it out, it makes so much more sense.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve resolution concerning and affecting the tax levy for 2023. Can I get a second?
I second it.
Nikki seconds it.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
Odo Johnson,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson,
Aye.
Katie Johnston,
Aye.
John Brotherton,
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 5, public comments. There's none I could see. Who would like to make a comment? Okay. Item 6, consent agenda items.
All right, we do have the in the consent agenda tonight, board meeting minutes, bills and treasurer's reports, and other financial documents. Within the personnel items tonight, there is a wage scale for the new general maintenance employee. We did approve that job description. The position was posted. It's filled, and we still have to approve the wage scale. And that was in your packet. Donations and grants. We are cooperating with First Student, our bus company, on a grant application so that they can purchase an electric bus. We are not going to have all electric buses. I don't want people to think that, but there's grant money to purchase one, and that would be their bus. Also in the packet were board policy updates, and I noted those in the packet. Those were first read at the last meeting. So that is the consent agenda, and I think there's one item that we were going to remove.
Personnel report.
Okay, so if the board members are okay with it, I'm recommending we remove the personnel report and personnel items and take action on that after closed session. So we would be removing the personnel report now, take action on it after closed session.
Tyler's okay if I make the motion here? Would that follow you? Good. Motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted with stipulation that each individual is required to comply with all requirements for new hires as indicated in Illinois statutes and RCS board policy and procedures, including ramification of bills prepaid by the finance manager under board policy 4.50. Can I get a second to that?
I second it.
Okay.
Brother Johnson,
Aye.
Katie Johnston,
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
Item 7, which is that discussion and possible approval of any action items, that's moved to after closed session.
Okay, number 8, I guess is annual report, and we all have a copy.
Get ready, buckle in. I ran through it one time today and it was an hour and 17 minutes, so. It's a joke, but maybe not.
Pretty flat.
I do want to, I did some arm twisting and we have some of our just building administrators that came tonight to.
Thank you.
Because I think a big part of what is presented in this is really what goes on at the buildings. And they represent their buildings. So we have, let me put my glasses on. Jamie Bajer, who's the principal at East Lawn. Amy Blomberg, principal from Broadmeadow. Heather Jacobs, principal at Ader. And the other schools do care, but they have other obligations. And also, since he's here, Nakia's in the room. He's not usually here for a board meeting, so.
Tell them why I had to be here.
He's had to be here because I can't run the Zoom
Thank you.
on my own anymore.
We do appreciate your honesty.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. And I've got to get to my page. All right. And you can follow through on the screen, but I'm basically going through the packet in the same order that you have in front of you. So the annual report is a snapshot of how RCS performs on a variety of education-related variables. Information included in the report is compiled throughout the school year. Following presentation to the board tonight, this is published on the RCS website. The purpose of the report is to share school district information in an organized way that is readable and understandable to the public. Nearly all of the information included in this report is available in other state reports, school report cards, and other public databases. So throughout the tables in the following sections, you're going to see that I'm referencing 2 groups of schools, geographically near schools, which are Ludlow, Gifford, Thomasboro, St. Joseph, and Armstrong Ellis, and demographically similar districts, which are Rochelle, East Moline, Mount Vernon, Bell Valley, and Carbondale. And in your report, I do explain how I come to arrive at those districts as our comparable districts. They are all K-8 districts, so the ones in yellow are our neighbors. And the ones in blue are not our neighbors, but they are districts that are much more similar to us than our neighbors are, okay? As we go through this, first want to make sure we're talking about the community that our school district represents. The district does serve primarily the village of Rantoul as well as some areas in the surrounding township. During the 23-24 school year, the school district includes 7 school sites. We're now operating Rise Academy, and for this year, pre-K is located at the Methodist Church. Compared to the state of Illinois and Champaign County, the village of Rantoul has a lower median household income, median home value, high school graduation rate, and lower rate of individuals holding a bachelor's degree. The village of Rantoul has a higher poverty rate than Champaign County and the state of Illinois. All of these indicators are also statistical predictors of student academic performance. For example, the higher the level of parent education, the more likely a student will be academically successful in school, regardless of the school or school district that the child is enrolled in. All right, next slide, click. All right, so now we're going to talk about our students and the classrooms that they're in. Total enrollment. RCS continues to serve a stable total enrollment and an increasingly diverse student population. Since 2015, total enrollment has held steady with an average enrollment of 1,695 students. And the current enrollment, and when I did this page, it was November 27th. We had 1,701 students. I'm not sure everyone's aware, but we are the 4th largest school district in Champaign County, and we are the largest pre-K through 8th grade district in Champaign County. Of our comparison districts, RCS has the 2nd highest percentage of students with disabilities, students from low-income households, and the 2nd highest most student mobility rate, and students who are classified as English language learners. Our rates of students with disabilities and English learners have been increasing, and our mobility rate has decreased since 2015. In all of these categories, we far exceed the state averages. Mobility rate is an indicator of students who started in our district after the start of the school, is what that means. This shows the percentage of the student population, and as I just said, the blue line represents our English language learner population, which has increased from 15.7% of our students to 24.1%. And that represents an increase of over 100 students who qualify for English language services. Similarly, we've seen an increase like that in our children with disabilities. Children with disabilities include students who have IEPs, which receive special education services, and it includes students with 504 plans. And those are students who typically only receive accommodations and don't receive direct services, again, typically, right? So how do we look compared to our neighboring districts? As I said earlier, we are 2nd highest in the categories throughout. And although many of our comparison districts have relatively high percentages of non-white students, only RCS and East Moline's populations include at least 25% of students from both Black or African American and Hispanic or Latino groups. Of note, RCS has a higher rate of non-white students than both Champaign and Urbana school districts. Both of those districts have higher percentages of Black or African American students than RCS. But RCS has almost double the percentage of Hispanic Latino students than both of those districts. RCS has 33.2% of our students who identify as Hispanic, and Champaign is 15%, Urbana is 17.9%. This graph shows the percentages of students by race over time. I think the most obvious lines on here to me that I see is the orange line, which shows the increase in our student population of students who identify as Hispanic or Latino, and the decrease in students who identify as white. Our average class sizes, next slide. Our average class sizes continue to be below the state average. since 2015. Of note, our average class size, so our average class size last year was 18.1. And that is lower than both Champaign, that is an average size of 22, and Urbana, which is an average size of 20.2. And that's a good that we're under the state average. Of our comparison districts, it's kind of all over the place because some, Armstrong Ellis has an average class size of 3. What that really tells you is they don't have a lot of kids. Same thing with Ludlow. Some of those districts are very small in enrollment. So this metric's a little more helpful to look at the schools in blue. And we are at or better than most of those districts on that list. Now, I'm going to jump now to attendance. So in recent years, the state's accountability metrics have included significant emphasis on student attendance. And the state began using a new metric of chronic absenteeism in 2018. Illinois law defines chronic absentee as a student who misses 10% of school days within an academic year with or without a valid excuse. So that's 18 days of an average 180-day school year. RCS has worked very hard to make sure all families understand the need to attend school, as we say, all day, every day. And RCS saw improvement in all 3 of their attendance metrics from 22 to 23, which is a big positive. Our average daily attendance rate increased from 91.4% daily from 88.5%. And we're now exceeding the state average on average daily attendance. Our chronic absenteeism rate has decreased from a 2021 high of 47.4% of students to 33.9% in 23. Our rate is still lower than the state average, and we are more comparable now to our demographically similar comparison districts. Since 2021, our chronic truancy rate, which is the amount of unexcused absences, has decreased by more than 30 percentage points. So this graph shows us how we compare to demographically similar districts and our neighbors on the most recent school report card, which is 23. In order to more aggressively address attendance issues, we have increased our family liaison positions to 3. And have placed an increased emphasis on their role to target attendance concerns. Additionally, in January of 23, RCS implemented new retention and promotion guidelines that include an attendance metric. And we do think that is one of the reasons we saw improvement last year. The next topic is our academic performance. All right. Bear with me. One measure of student performance is the state's annual standardized testing. The testing is varied from year to year, making longitudinal comparisons difficult. Since 2014, the district has administered either the ISAT, the PARC, or the IAR to the majority of students. The majority of students currently take the Illinois Assessment for Readiness, which is the IAR. But some students with significant cognitive disabilities take the Dynamic Learning Maps, or the DLM assessment. That's a very small number of kids. Since 2014, the state has also adjusted the scale scores. So on the same test, what was passing is now failing, possibly. And so that makes it more difficult for us to do that. We also had a break in testing in 2020 and 2021. In 2020, some of our students started the tests. I don't think we had them all done before we closed down. And then there was testing also done in 2022, but remember, we were partly remote and not every kid was necessarily here to take testing. From last year, on this year, the 2023 scores, RCS saw a 63% increase in literacy performance on the IAR. This year over last year, exceeding the statewide average increase of only 17.6%. JW Ader's growth in math and literacy on the IAR both exceeded pre-COVID levels, and the school is exceeding statewide growth averages in literacy. J.W. Ader improved its summited designation level from comprehensive to targeted. So well done, Ms. Jacobs and your team. Pleasant Acres, and they snuck in. Ms. Harmon is back there and Ms. Sebestik, the principal and assistant principal. You get double points because although you were late. So, all right. Pleasant Acres Elementary School moved from targeted to commendable this year, and that is largely due to increased student growth in both literacy and math. East Lawn, since you're here, you weren't in my notes, but they did maintain their performance level at commendable. Of note, and I don't think I've really shared this part with the board, is that Broadmeadow showed significant overall gains in math and literacy on the IAR. In 2022, 22% of students scored at approaching or higher on ELA and 17.1% on math. Those numbers increased from 22% in ELA to 30.4% in ELA. In math, they increased from 17.1% to 25%. So we're really starting to see some strong growth out in our schools. All right. Unfortunately, though, RCS is performing lower than all of our comparable districts in total English language arts proficiency and math proficiency, and below the state average. In proficiency for English language learners, RCS does outperform two comparison districts. So that is a metric that we have that not every district has, and that's this column over here on the right. So every year our English language learners take a test called the Access. And the number you see here is what that amounts to is the number of kids who can exit receiving bilingual services within a certain number of years is what we're looking at. Summative designations are shown here. As you can see, the schools in blue, which are the larger districts, they're more likely to have schools at comprehensive and targeted, which we do. Schools that are, I would say, smaller and less diverse are more likely to have schools at commendable and exemplary. I was not aware of this until I looked, but Ludlow is at comprehensive and Thomasboro is at targeted for the whole district in those cases. In order to increase student academic performance, the district has implemented a lot, I guess. I have a really long list, which is in the annual report, and it's full page, single spaced. Shall I read it out loud? Maybe not. Okay, but I do want you to take a look at that because it is as I was working with my team to, what are we doing? Because that gets asked a lot. So I do want to highlight a specific one, and I'm going to ask probably Jenny to bail me out, and she didn't know this was coming. But one of our big initiatives right now is a shift in how we are, our early elementary teachers are teaching reading. And all of our early elementary school teachers are going through a training in something called LETTERS, which I can't remember what that stands for. But Ms. Fredericks, would you take 30 seconds and explain what that training is?
Yeah, so our pre-K, K are doing the letters training.
Mhm.
We also have the keys to letters for the, that's 2 through 5, right? Pre-K, K1 are all doing the letters training. And so it's not a curriculum. That's the biggest thing, is it's teaching the teachers how to be stronger teachers in the area of literacy. Most teachers who go through education programs don't get strong instruction. They tell you about the different components of literacy, but not how to teach literacy. It's also a very strong phonics, phonemic awareness approach of really looking at the brain research on that. You probably have heard a lot about the science of reading. And that's one element of teaching a child to read is the phonics and phonemic awareness. So we're really putting forth a lot of financial resources into training our teachers in the art of teaching reading. And so we really hope to see some real positive gains. And that is a 2-year program that they're involved in. So it is very intensive.
And all of the teachers are doing it?
Elementary.
Right.
Yep.
Just pre-K to 1.
Well, there's letters and then what was the other one?
Pre-K to 1, and then keys to literacy is the 2 through 5.
So one of the things we know about kids' academic performance in school is they need to know how to read by the time they leave second grade. Otherwise, we're playing catch up for a long time. And there's been a lot of new, I would say, a push nationally, research to shift how we have been teaching reading to doing it in a different way. And that's a big change, and we're really, I would say, aggressively going into that this year. I don't mean in a negative way when I say aggressive, but it's, we made a decision last year that we needed to invest. Where you spend your time, tools, and training needs to be on the most important things, and that's what we're doing right now, for sure, at the elementary level. All right, the next section to talk about is our employees. This data for our employee data was pulled on December 7th. That's how I spent my day. This chart, I know it's a little small, but what you see is the breakdown of staff by building. You'll see some fluctuation in staffing numbers. So for instance, Northview has a lot more staff than, say, East Lawn, and that is primarily because of special education programming at Northview that require more staff per student. So that's where you'll see some of that variation in our elementary schools. Our employees represent our most important and most valuable resource when it comes to educating our students. More than 64% of all of our spending in fiscal year 23 went towards salary and benefits for our employees. Since 2015, the amount of spending on employee resources ranged from a low of 57% to a high of 71%. But in a typical year, we're looking at 65% of our funding, of our expenditures are going towards our personnel and benefits. And supporting and managing our employees is a critical component of improving our schools. As of December 7th, we have allocated 370 full or part-time employees, not including our after-school program staff. It does not include our after-school program staff. Who are all part-time. The largest employee group, rewind, there are currently 9 vacant positions in the district. And I'll get into that a little bit more. And that was as of December 7th, and I can tell you that number's changed already since then. So the largest employee group in the district is teachers, who represent 57.6% of all allocated positions. Of these positions, 9 are covered by full-time substitutes and 4 remain unfilled and uncovered. I don't want you to think we have students sitting in rooms without teachers. What has happened, and those are at the junior high, is the class sizes at the junior high go up. That's what results. So if we can't staff a classroom, then unfortunately we have to dissolve those classes and they go into other teachers' classrooms, increasing the class size. The total number of teachers has been steady for the past 3 years, but this is primarily to positions being unfilled or covered by substitute teachers. Educational support staff make up 36.4% of our employees. Of these positions, 5 are currently unfilled. This group includes 15.5 custodial or maintenance employees, 72.5 teaching assistants, and 47.9 other support staff. And those other groups are folks like cafeteria cooks, secretaries, clericals, parent-family liaisons, nurses, anyone who's not certified, who's not an administrator falls into that group. RCS classifies 22 employees as administrators. That's 5.9% of our total staff. Of these administrators, 19 are certified and 3 are non-certified. So you can see here on the next slide, this shows our teacher FTEs over time. It's really an interesting graph to look at, I think, because we were on a trend prior to COVID of really starting to increase our staffing. And we were staffing our positions. We had a couple positions at the junior high that were covered by permanent subs. And now, instead of even adding positions at times when we need to, we don't add those positions because we won't be able to fill them. So this is represents that kind of that change that happened around COVID with staffing. RCS has increased diversity among our teaching staff. Since 2015, RCS has more than doubled the percentage of non-white teachers, increasing from 8.1% non-white to 17.2% non-white. Our largest growth in non-white teachers is among teachers who identify as Hispanic or Latino. We have struggled to grow the percentage of staff that, although technically on the chart, we doubled the number of African-American staff members, but it's still a low number and an area of focus from 2.2% to 4.4%. So it's,
Sorry.
yeah, that's it.
My joke's all back.
Our teacher retention rate, and this is something that we've talked about before, RCS teacher retention rate is increasing. That's something we definitely want to see. One of the best ways to not have teacher vacancies is to keep the teachers we have. In 2016, RCS saw its lowest retention rate, which was only 62.5%. Our 2023 rate was 79.3. This is really strong improvement. We are still significantly behind the statewide average of 90.2%. And in a minute, we'll look at the comparison districts and kind of see where we fall with that. We are continuing to see a decrease in the number of our teachers that have advanced degrees. That's partly due to attrition, and then where the teachers we are bringing in and teachers we are hiring are more likely to only have a bachelor's degree as the other thing. So an indicator of higher academic performance is teachers with advanced degrees. So it is something we'll want to consider is that something we want to address, is working with teachers to advance their education. Comparison districts, as you can see, we're actually the second highest rate of non-white staff of all the districts. The only district that's higher is Bell Valley. That's in the East St. Louis area. Our teacher retention rate is much better, but we have a ways to go. But we're not that far off from some of our demographically similar districts. The next would be salary. RCS teacher compensation is increasing. I highlight this because compensation is one of the keys to retention. For 2023, the average teacher compensation was over $54,000. This was almost $20,000 below the statewide average. And so one of the things you'll see if you look up here at the blue line is, the blue line, there we go, that's RCS teachers. We have seen some solid, I would say solid increases, but we're really not closing that gap compared to the statewide average. Over that same time, administrative salaries in the district have stayed, they've fluctuated, but it has stayed below 100,000, which is also significantly below the state average. Okay. So this shows comparison to districts. So of our geographically near comparison districts, St. Joe has a very high pay rate for a small district. That probably has to do with teacher retention within the district and the number of staff with advanced degrees. Of note, I find here is that Carbondale is substantially higher than where we are on this. But that gives you a comparison on that. So we do acknowledge, and one of the things we've done to try to address some of our staffing concerns is we did bring in Tom Majors as to work with our HR department, and he's got a lot of stuff cooking, I would say. We acknowledge the ongoing difficulty in filling our vacant positions. This is not a problem our district is dealing with in isolation. For the 22-23 school year, ISB data, that's the State Board of Education, shows that there were 5,301 unfilled teaching positions in the state. Data for this school year further reflects the tightening hiring market, and we now have 7,188 unfilled teaching positions in the state. So that is a big jump. That's a jump of almost 2,000 vacant positions year over year. So what are we doing to address this in our district? So one is we're creating partnerships with colleges and universities to support staff going back to school to become teachers. We're working with Eastern Illinois University's Grow Your Own program, Illinois State University's Paraprofessionals Unlocking Licensure and Special Education program. And both of these programs support our teaching assistants who have 60 hours or an associate's degree in going back to school and obtaining their teaching license. We're now reimbursing the tuition for our employees that are going back to college to get teaching degrees. These agreements that will help employees to obtain a teaching license in return for them working at RCS for 5 years. So we are continuing to work with our existing non-teacher employees to get them to go back to school to become teachers. Right now, we have 6 paraprofessionals, support staff that are working on that. And so when they're done, they're committed to working for us for at least 5 school years. Yes.
This is on the bottom of page 18, if you'd like to see this. I think this is a really important thing for us to look at. Bottom of page 18.
All right.
He's reading through this, but
Yes.
for me at least, I like to see it too.
Another thing is the selling of the benefits of RCS to others. So we are making an increased effort to get out the word within this area and at the local universities. So Tom is now the job fair guy. He gets to go to the job fairs. That's fun. As of right now, we have applicants that we met at the ISU job fair, Illinois State University, and we are in the process of hiring them for December. So we've typically not had much luck with that, so it's good to see we had some. 2 is better than none, for sure. We are now providing retention longevity bonuses to our existing certified teachers, and that's through the state's teacher vacancy grant. Tom, and with the grant, has established a recruitment and retention committee that allows us to gather information right from our teachers, provides information to identify why staff stay or leave, and the committee can provide inputs on actions the district can take to increase our recruitment and retention. Promoting retention of new and beginning teachers is a key component to this also. Probably the biggest thing we did is we've increased our new teacher orientation to 10 full school days, 10 full work days, I should say, because there aren't any kids, prior to the start of the school year, which is all about us getting them acclimated to the district and to the system so that hopefully they hit the ground running, so to speak, once not running, that sounds, hit the ground running, from the children in the hallway. No, but they are ready to go on the first day of school. And Jenny, I hope you're paying attention. We didn't practice this. Prior to this year, how long was new teacher orientation typically?
We've had several different variations on that, but I would say the year before, we were down to maybe 3, and most of it ended up being in the buildings with coaches in the building, so.
It's just not enough time. We did also this year offer a full day to all of our certified teachers over the summer months to really the first 2 weeks before school. They didn't have all summer to do it. To come in, get their rooms set up. Also there's a whole lot of annual training that's required of our employees, and we've always said, oh, just find time during the day and get that done. So that was all part of that day we had. We're also partnering with the Illinois Education Association, which is the state teachers union, to provide some virtual mentoring to the new and beginning teachers at the beginning of their career. All right, that was employees. There's only one section left. It's the longest section. All right, finances. Chris, are you ready?
Sure.
You awake?
Okay.
All right, the lights have even dimmed. Okay. All right, the first thing is this lovely page. You have to zip through. I'll wait till you get to what page is it for you all? 26. All right, so this chart I like, and I think some of you it will make sense to if you want, but it's showing the large pools of revenue and expenditure over time so that you can see that. And then highlighted in yellow is what was in the annual financial report that was actually presented at the last meeting. So that's the current year. It's the same data, the same numbers from the annual financial report going back to the year 2015. And so you can see where we've had increases or decreases, over time. The district's financial health is strong, and we have benefited from significant increases in state and federal funding. However, federal funding will return to typical, and I'll put that in quotes, typical levels in the next fiscal year as COVID-related grant allocations will end. Fortunately for our district, our planning was that most of our COVID-related spending does not have continuing costs beyond the grants because most of our spending was tied to, I call them finite projects, so not ongoing costs such as staffing. And what we're going to see, it started this year and we'll start to see in some more this coming year is that districts started paying for lots of positions with this grant money, and now that grant money is gone, so they're going to have to go into local funds in order to maintain those positions. And we did not start adding positions that we didn't have a plan to shift them to local funds when we first started them. So an example of that would be parent-family liaisons. We increased the staffing of parent-family liaisons initially during COVID using COVID money, but if I recall correctly, I sure hope I'm right. And at this point, those are now already shifted into local funds within the budget. The financial profile rating, which Russ, the auditor, always likes says for whatever that's worth. Well, as long as it's good, I like to put it in our report. So our financial profile rating is 3.7, and we are at recognition, and that's really where you want to be. The only area where we score low is in long-term debt. But the reality is it's because according to the state, we carry too much money in bonds. However, we're not, because we don't carry regular bonds, we carry bonds that are paid back with property taxes. So it's just an accounting thing. So I don't want anyone to think we've got some horrible problem with long-term debt. Ours are financed directly by sales tax, which is different, okay? Back to FY 2020, and you'll see this throughout the financials, is we dropped because the Champaign County did not pay all of the property tax. All of the property tax receipts were not distributed on time that year, so it causes this bump, and that affected us when we were moved into review at that point. This next chart looks at EAV. So RCS has reduced the property tax rate. I've mentioned that multiple times in the last 2 meetings. We have a very low EAV per pupil, but a relatively high tax rate. So this is something I'm happy to explain right now. EAV is the equalized assessed value of property. So that is when you get your property tax bill, that you see the EAV number on there, which is 1/3 the value of your house. So if you take the EAV and you multiply it by 3, that's what the county assessor says your house is worth, which is different from what Zillow says, okay? It's usually lower than what Zillow says. So, and that's the number that when we pass a tax rate, the tax rate is multiplied into that EAV. So the way to compare school districts is to say, okay, for every student out there, how much property value is there that is taxable for local property taxes? It's a shockingly low number that we have compared to other districts. Armstrong Ellis, remember there are 3 kids per classroom? Look how high their EAV per pupil is. It has a lot to do with windmills, okay? But then their property tax rate is lower. So it's just, I've mentioned it before, we're in a situation where we have shifted away from reliance on local property tax money to an increasingly large reliance on state funding. And that's also allowed us to drop the tax rate. We have again applied, Jenny applied the day it came out, she told me. There is a grant we continue to apply for annually, which is a property tax abatement grant, which if we were to get that, that could potentially drop the overall property tax rate by over 10% if we were to get that. And that would be a permanent thing. So we're really hoping someday the state will give it to us, because that's one way we can offset the tax burden locally. Over here in the far right column is operational expenditure per pupil. So this is another way to compare districts. This is how much money did you spend, total amount of expenditures divided by the number of students. That's what that is, okay? So the state average is $17,952. We actually spent above the state average this last year. Not nearly as much as Ludlow. I just want to point that out. But it's also, these are anomaly years that we're in because there's a significant amount of federal money going into there. So if you go back to the chart that had the yellow one on it, I can go back. When you see operation expenditure per pupil is down here it is. Estimated OEPP is what it's called. So you can see that we've had a steady increase, but from 21 to 22, it jumped from 15,000 to over 18,000, and we're at that. So we may still see a number in the 18s, but that won't be maintained in the long term. I don't anticipate because of the federal grant funds that are going away. So, and it also matters what year did we spend those grant dollars in. So some districts have really high numbers. So Ludlow may have spent all of theirs last year and have nothing to spend this year. I don't know. Now, beginning in fiscal, I'm moving on to the one that is evidence-based funding. Beginning in fiscal year 2018, Illinois began implementing a more equitable funding system known as evidence-based funding. This uses 26 different metrics or points of measurement. Generally, the state considers a school district's special student populations. So these are the broad metric categories. Student populations. So what's your percentage of low-income students? What's your percentage of English language learners? And what's your percentage of special education students? How high is your EAV per pupil? Okay, and if you, regardless of what your EAV is, does your community actually tax that money? So for the first time, we were actually going to benefit from having higher number of low-income students, having a low EAV. Those indicators told the state that a district like Rantoul should be receiving more support. Because no matter how much we might want to tax the local property tax base, even if we took 100% of it, it wouldn't be enough to match what the state says we need, okay? And just for the record, I'm not recommending that we tax 100% of, okay, so I was just using that as a point of example. As a result of the EBF funding formula, RCS has been receiving substantially more state support. Since 2015, state funding has increased 74.6%, and state funding now accounts for the majority of our district's funding. According to the state's accounting and funding goals, RCS has an adequacy level of only 64.2%. So in order for us to be fully funded, the state says they should be giving us $8.9 million more a year. Okay, so we will take that. Obviously, the state doesn't have that amount of money, but over the last several years, we've really started to, the state is committed to funding that since 2018. They've met their funding goals every year except one. And once we receive that additional funding, that's the base level of funding for our district moving forward. So when you look at the adequacy number on here, we have the lowest, our adequacy number is lower than every district on the list except for Bell Valley, which I said again, that's down in the East St. Louis area. The one district on this list exceeds adequacy, and that's Armstrong Ellis. Gifford is almost there. So what that looks like, so we are a tier 1 district. So if the state were coming in and saying we have $10 to give out, they might say $9 goes to RCS, they're a tier 1, $1 goes to Gifford, because they're probably a tier 4. I bet. So I know Armstrong Ellis is tier 4 because I looked it up. All right, this shows our funding sources on this table. As I've said, the majority of our funding comes now from state funding. Federal funding, you can see where it's increased recently. And then our local funding has grown, but we're actually seeing more growth in terms of property taxes, which is the next slide, or sales tax, excuse me. Our sales tax revenue has increased, which is one of the reasons we're going to be able to issue bonds for the pre-K center, is because of this increase over here in the local sales tax, or in the countywide sales tax. The other source of local revenue, which don't ask me to explain it, please, is corporate personal property replacement tax. And some people might remember paying taxes with the old Illinois Constitution. Someone might remember paying taxes with the old Illinois Constitution.
Just move
Move
on,
on,
please.
got it. All right, it goes back to the old Illinois Constitution and it's still in there. All right, I'm on the last slide of the annual report now. So RCS exists to build a stronger community by educating our students. Looking to the future, RCS must continue to determine how to meet and exceed the needs of our exceptionally diverse students and make RCS the community of learners it can be. We have to evolve to meet the needs of our increasingly diverse students. We are doing this by creating and supporting RISE, as well as the expansion of our pre-K program. In order to improve academic performance, we must continue to hire and retain a high quality and diverse teaching staff. And we must improve early education foundational reading skills. We must do all this within the realistic financial constraints of the community we serve. So I am done with the annual report. Unless you'd like me to talk more.
Thank you. And I'd like to make a comment. I hope you all won't mind, but I would like to thank the people who are out here in the audience. It starts at the top, and I'm not just referring to this man here. In the buildings, the principals, assistant principals, the other administrators, they've helped make this a better ways to go. Certainly, we have things we need to improve on, but improvements we've made recently have been, I think, very substantial, and that's to your guys' credit. So thank you. Thank you so much. Even you too.
Any other
Especially for this gift that this
personal?
It
These are
depends
fun,
on that
I promise.
gift.
Don't open it.
Because you remember your evaluation's coming up here.
All right. Oh.
Hey, that's the reason we got it.
That's recorded in case I. All right. All right. There is no action to take on that, and board members, anything you would like additional details on, I definitely skimmed over the academic portion because there was a lot in there. And I would just been reading a list of things, so, okay.
Thanks, we'll move on to number 9 now, action discipline improvement plan.
Okay. All right, so this is another one that's good that the building administrators are here. Most of them, either they or the assistant principal were involved in developing the discipline improvement plan. So we are required to address high rates of out-of-school suspensions. It's a state requirement. Not every district gets to have this fund. The plan that we have, and is in your packet, outlines specific actions the district has taken and will take moving forward. So this year, the committee has met once. We meet 3 times during the year. And so the things we outlined after reviewing our data, that is quite the motion I have up there, isn't it? Okay. I feel like I need to correct it. Okay, so I was like, why are people giggling in the audience? Okay. All right. So some of the things we're doing is we've increased the board certified behavior analyst that we had 1 position last year. We now have a 2nd person who has started. And those are people who are specifically trained in behavior and are able to go in and support classroom teachers. They help us write plans. And they're a lot of times coming in with some of our more serious discipline situations. I shouldn't say discipline, it's student behavior that we're looking at and how can we work with the strengths of the student to improve the behavior. Continuing with Rise Academy, we have seen, I did the math today, from the beginning of the school year until now, at the junior high level, so this includes Rise and JWA. Last year, from the beginning of the year till November 20th, there were 70 out-of-school suspensions at the junior high, okay? So far, in that same time this year, we've had 23. That's a 67% drop in out-of-school suspensions. So I think absolutely we're seeing a value in Rise Academy in supporting our discipline improvement plan.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What do you think the difference is? Because it was a lot of the teachers that went over, right? To Rise Academy. Do you think it's just the different structure and learning?
It's a couple things, I think, and Heather may jump in here, you have my permission. But part of it is, I think the staffing to work with the students who are at Rise is a lot higher. And they're able to build, I think they're building much closer relationships than we can do with 500 kids.
What do you mean the staffing's much higher?
The staff, a number of staff per pupil is probably at least double what it is at Ader. Okay. I think the staff there has a commitment to only doing an out-of-school suspension as a last resort because they have the staff in place to, their number of in-school suspensions has gone up. I will say that. So they're keeping the student at school instead of having the student at home, and they have the staff to support doing that. I think why has Ader seen a decrease? I think the one reason is that because some of the students who move to Rise, and not every child who's at Rise is there because of a behavioral concern. I want to be very clear about that. Is though that it's freed up resources at the junior high also for Heather's team. So let's say it's 10 kids, and now Heather's team's not having to address those 10 kids. There's still plenty of other customers. But we've just really seen a calm that really there's no other customers.
You are painting a picture that's just not, that part's not really accurate.
Okay, go ahead and paint it.
Tom's been over
Yeah.
regularly, I feel like. And our building is kind of calm and quietish comparatively speaking to where we were at in the past years. We've had 2 difficult groups that have now moved to RTHS. That was a lot.
And I think too, it's and it's calm and quiet at Rise too, I guess.
Right, so what I was gonna say is a lot of the kids that are at Rise, love them dearly. They are very touchy-feely horseplay kids. And then they would go into all the classrooms and want to do that stuff. And then the next kids are bubbling up. And it was just like this domino effect of us just putting out those kinds of like, no, sit down, like, stop touching it, that we just don't have nearly our number one office is looking for right now is tardies. 25% of our business that comes in across our doorway is tardy to class. And by tardy to class, I mean they're here and the classroom door is there and they're just, can't crease my shoes, gotta say hi to my 4 friends, peek in this door. They're in there within, like 30 seconds to when class starts. That's our business right now. Most of the business is that. Jen had a really big push for us to increase our not increase our language, increase our kind words, and decrease our others. And I think that it's tremendously different. Like I don't hear it through my office. I think the vibe is just different. We've had substitutes come in who had subbed for us like last year, the year before. They're like, oh, I'll come back. And then they've been picking up jobs. And they're just like, they've told the staff even, like, it's just different being here.
I would like to thank you for saying for the first time in a school board meeting, don't crease my shoes.
Yes,
I mean,
Right,
it happens.
I'll explain it later. We are increasing staffing at CARE just by 1 TA so that we can increase capacity for our elementary students. And then at this point, we will have added a TA into every kindergarten classroom. We are seeing a lot of our data shows a disproportionate amount of our behavioral problems are coming out of kindergarten right now. And so we talked earlier, it was in August, we talked about adding TAs into kindergarten. We started with 1 TA for every kindergarten room, or 1 TA for every 2 kindergarten rooms. And by January, we should be up to 1 TA for every kindergarten room. So that's what's in the plan. Is there any questions, or we can make a motion to approve the plan as presented? Someone else can do that.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Would anybody like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Widow Johnston,
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye. 10, action flooring bid for One Aviation Center.
All right. So I communicated with the board about this. They have not started any work yet. We were hoping to have by now, but the bid package is to replace flooring in the majority of space at Rise Academy and the new central office. Includes removal and replacement, all of those things. We had in the bid packet, in the information we attached, I think we had 5 companies reach out to us to get the bid packet. 3 came to the pre-bid meeting, 2 submitted bids. And so the recommendation is to approve the low bidder, which is Flooring Oasis. And this is funded out of those federal grant funds.
Any questions, comments? I'll make a motion to approve this. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Robin seconded. Thank you.
Widow Johnston,
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye. Thank you. Number 11, superintendent's evaluation, which we all have now. Stick around here.
So I provided all of you, I emailed this to you all today. That's my self-assessment document, which is a confidential document. And then the template for you all, and then I think last time around you worked with Katie, right, to kind of compile that. So, all right, there's nothing to do right now, but I just have to have it on the agenda.
That present better be. Yes.
All right,
All
right.
I had to leave, let sweat a little bit there.
all right. Jenny, you're on, but
Number 12,
we'll see how
discussion
much we
pre-K.
need Jenny to talk. So we're gonna do a little update on planning. I guess then you wanna just, we've mostly.
Yeah, so we're really just down to some of the details of refining based on, the pre-K director, Lori, took the plans back, has talked a little bit with the staff about some of the plans. They had some recommendations and thoughts. And I said, as long as it doesn't change the price, we can be flexible with that. So We sat down with VP, Lori and I, and the architect sat down together and we moved around a couple walls and things just for efficiency and some needs of the pre-K program itself. So that's pretty much the only updates in regards to like the interior stuff of what you saw compared to kind of what we've messed around with a little bit. The other piece is we did follow up on both the roofing and the HVAC information. Do you want me to keep going? Is that fine?
I'll pull up where first,
Okay.
put roofing.
Okay, yes, and Scott did a beautiful.
I'm really excited about the graph I made, so.
So the architect really is not recommending a gabled roof. I think the idea changed a little bit just because it's not gonna be a freestanding building. It will be attached to an existing building, so having a different style roof is gonna be unusual. It's also a lot more expensive. Yeah, an upcharge of about $500,000 to $550,000 for going to a metal roof. He did clarify that our roofs are sloped already. It's just a more gradual slope, and I think that's what the red line is.
Yes, it is.
And his diagram there is that it has a slight sloping, it's not a completely flat roof. And that is the same that they would put on the new pre-K center. So that's the update on the roof. The next piece is the HVAC, so the rooftop units versus the geothermal. And so what the architect explained to me is that if we do, so because we have geothermal across our district, the recommendation would be to continue on with geothermal, right? It is always a financial and still your decision, but that is his recommendation. So a rooftop unit is, for putting those in, it's about $420,000 is the estimate for that. But if we integrate into our geothermal, it's possible they'd have to dig some more wells in order to cover the new addition. So they're estimating it would be an increase over the 420 of about $540,000 for putting in the geothermal. Now, the difference with that though, if we do the rooftop units, it comes out as part of in the bid. So that is a part of what we pay the bonds for, right? Mm-hmm. So we would have to pay up front. Where if we do the geothermal, because we already have a performance agreement with Verigy, and they are the ones who currently do our geothermal, we can just expand that performance agreement. So we would pay annually, so we wouldn't have to pay up front. We would pay annually for the geothermal and spread that total $960,000 over time. And that obviously is much easier on our budget than trying to come up with doing the bonds initially. So those are the options, and I think that, the recommendation again would be going ahead and doing the geothermal, both from a financial and environmental perspective.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
So I say decisions on here, we're not voting, but we need to gather, is the board okay? So the next steps for VP are to put together the bid package. So our recommendation is to go with what was initially spec'd, which is the slightly sloped roof. So I did not realize our roofs are already sloped slightly, which is the red line. I did y equals mx plus b today, everybody. I really did it. And then, so that would be our recommendation, is to go ahead and, it's also a style issue. It will match the rest of the building. And then the second recommendation piece is that we go ahead and do the geothermal, knowing that the additional costs are really pushed to future costs that we can afford to spread out.
I'm good.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah.
How much would our contract go up with Verigy by doing it that way?
Did that email say, that they can come in and walk us through the process. I think they did send a kind of an overview of what it would look like for the.
I mean, I agree with
So-
the spreading it out. I just, you know, if we're paying, if it's gonna triple it, you know, I mean, that's,
Because I think it's more a matter of over how many years.
Yeah.
we Decide to spread it with. And on the roof, just to be, on any of this, again, I've said it to the board every meeting, but ultimately, the time for approval, where you vote, is when we get the bid. So we're just trying to get together what the bid package will be. I mean, tomorrow VP's coming, we're gonna look at flooring.
I do want to mention also, now that you said that, that reminded me, so the other piece of being able to space it out that way is that there are more incentives that come out that we could apply for. There also we wrote for, even close, but didn't get it, for the roof and solar is coming out, the Renew America School, it's coming out again for 24. And so we're gonna rewrite that one and include the geothermal for pre-K. So there's some other financial opportunities that maybe will assist us with that as well over time.
Thank you, Diana and Rhoda. Do you have any thoughts? Okay,
Parking lot.
pre-K parking lot? Yeah. We're gonna add that as an alternate bid,
Correct.
so we'll get a price on it when it goes out to bid. We're looking, timetable. All right, VP's not working on this again until January. I mean, it's gonna be here tomorrow, but, I mean, we're looking at, our goal is the project is done in December so that we can start pre-K in the new building January of 25. Yeah, so we know already this fall, they'll still be at the church.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Provided the church votes yes.
I sure hope they do. So, okay,
That'd be really nice.
all righty.
Okay, I guess we're ready for closed session. The next item.
I make a motion to move to closed session regarding appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees.
Can I get a second for that?
I'll second it.
Tyler seconded. Take a roll call.
Moto Johnson.
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza. Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn.
Hi.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
All right, and we are gonna go to the library. Nikki, if you would mute the audio.
You guys are paired up.
All right, camera is on, audio is on. The board moved into open session while they were in the other room, so they are in open session again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of 12.
Thank you.
We are now in open session.
14, action adoption of resolution to dismiss and to authorize notice of dismissal and charges.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution to dismiss and authorize notice of dismissal and charges to Dylan Knowles.
Can I get a
I second it.
Thank you, Nikki.
Moto Johnson,
I abstain.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza,
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson,
Aye.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye. 15, adoption of resolution authorizing and approving notice to remedy.
I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution authorizing and approving notice to remedy to Karen L.
Can I get a second for that?
I second.
Thank you, Mona.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Thank you, Moto. Moto Johnson,
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza,
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson,
Aye.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
We have one more action item that's not listed there,
Okay,
which would be the personnel report.
personnel report.
I'll make the motion to approve the personnel report.
I'll second it.
Hannah's doing this one by hand, so. just-
Sorry.
Sorry.
And Katie. Okay. So Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
And Moto Johnson.
Aye.
Okay. 16, information items.
There they are listed. I do want to give a shout out to Sam Lanius, who was named as the Teacher of the Week. She is this year, a fourth grade teacher at East Lawn. We had a couple of, 3 FOIAs, nothing that was super substantial. The student discipline report is included and the annual statement of affairs is in your packet. It was published. The required publication happened in the newspaper like it's supposed to, and it is posted on the website. That is from the last meeting. Next.
Ready for new business? Not 17.
I kind of have, it's not really new business, it's just more of a question. On, don't we have like a social equity work? How's that going?
It's not a lot is happening right now with it.
Okay, I
Yep.
was just wanting to kind of get an update. And then
Nikki had asked about that.
Yes, because we were going to present, but then we were stopped.
Oh,
And so I am trying to get us going again.
okay. And then on, what is it? SRO, or resource officer? Do we still have one? I'm not trying to be funny, I know. we have
Officer
one.
Jackson is deployed.
Okay,
and
that's
has
what-
been. And so it's a good question. We are not paying for an SRO right now.
Really?
We have an agreement in place with the village. What they have been doing is they've assigned a patrol officer to each one of our schools. And it's actually been working out nicely. They come and visit, just do a little walkthrough a couple times a week. So if you see an officer at drop off or pick up at one of the schools, that's usually who it is.
Okay, because
I've
that
seen them at one.
Yeah.
kind of leads into my next question. Do you think, kind of, sort of, even when we do have a permanent one, maybe look into maybe actually having 2? Because, it's kind of hard to divide yourself up into all these schools. And like you said, just to see an officer in your school will kind of deter some of the things that we have going on with.
Yeah, I think that's something I can discuss that with the police. The biggest issue, it would likely be, well, one, it would cost us over $80,000. That's okay though, if that's how the board wants to spend money. But the issue will most likely be staffing on the police side.
I see.
Because there are a lot, there's additional certification required to become a school resource officer.
I see.
But yeah, I mean, I could definitely bring that up with them. So, but the high school has a separate one, so we have.
Yes, sir.
So there are two in town.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
At the conference that we went to in Chicago, I spoke with some of the FBI presenters there that gave cyber training to youth. And I just wondered if we did anything along those lines in our district for online safety, cyber skills training on who they should, password protection, who they should be talking to. Maybe even training parents how to protect their kids online.
So we do have instructional technology teachers in all the elementary schools now. This is the first year we've had one in each building. And that is part of what they should be covering in terms of some of those basic things, internet safety, password protection. We have in the past, I don't know when the last time was, I think last year, had the Attorney General's office in Illinois will come out and do parent presentations and also present with students on some of those topics, yes.
I wanted to say something to Hannah. Thank you for our conference. It would have been without, I think, would
I
have been
put the
lost.
whole conference on. It was awesome.
Yeah, no.
I appreciate
I mean,
that.
about everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Yes,
I
I think
appreciate
the rest
it.
of the board agrees certainly with that.
In Moto, you need to go next
I'm
year.
going next year.
No.
I went on Saturday, but yeah, I did. I was sick, but I went.
Okay, you have any comments you want to make?
Tyler's already making the motion to close.
No, I got one.
Well, we're still in new business, so next, superintendent board comments, there we go.
Sorry. I have one really quick.
Yeah.
Yay. So it's Christmas program time. I went to a very enjoyable one at Northview where there was fake snow, and I really feel sorry for them having to clean that up. But I am grateful that we are, as a district, supportive of our programming. I think that music and art and all of those things are the things that make life beautiful, and I'm grateful that we have it. And shout out to Mr. Madden because it was very enjoyable and those kids were having a great time. So maybe
That's the goal.
Mr. Madden.
I went to Pleasant Acres last week, visited a kindergarten class, and oh Lord. I see why I do not have more little ones, but some of those kids, they all wanted to touch my nails and and they could go home with me. No, you can't, but it was enjoyable. I was there for 2 hours with it.
Thank you, Diane.
But I was helping Miss Locke because I had to combine Carrie Hans's and her class together. But then I had to leave because my kid needed me. But it was kind of nice.
Anybody else have a comment? Nope. We have the evaluation that you got a text message, and also you have a paper copy here. Thank Katie very much for volunteering again to tabulate for us, and we'd like to have that done by the 10th of January if all possible. Is that right, Katie?
Yeah, the 12th is fine too. It's a Wednesday.
The 12th.
I just thought the 10th was an easy day to remember.
Okay, the 12th, I'll say the 12th of January before next board meeting, so we can get this done. Of course, it's all pretty self-explanatory, just need to do it just like last year, so. That's okay for everybody? No problem with that.
Send it to you, right?
Katie, yeah.
Thank you. In front of you, board members, is an exciting gift for me. It's paper out of my own pocket. It's a nice friendly, but don't open it in this room, as I said earlier. But more importantly is this one here, and thank you, Hannah, again. This is the gift that, that's my Christmas card. This is just this. Picture of my kids. So you wanted one. Tomorrow morning, 8:30, board members are welcome to join Hannah and I know Mr. Brotherton's coming. We'll go around and deliver them all. I heard we used to give out baskets of food to people, so I'm feeling a
yeah,
Rules have
those
changed, so this is office supplies. It has to be something. But we are,
Why we
what's
can't
on,
afford roofs.
what's more fun is what's on the card, and that is that on the first Friday after winter break, we're gonna do an Happy New Year, Happy Hour. Get it? Because we can't serve alcohol, but we sure can give them appetizers. So, we'll be at Willow Pond Golf Club, and that's on there, and board members, you're the ones technically hosting it, but it is for our employees, and you're welcome to come out. And that's what you're passing out. That's all. Oh, and this is the last meeting. And let me tell you this, in this boardroom.
Yes.
So whether we are ready or not, the next board meeting will be at One Aviation. So we have to vacate this part of the building by the end of this month. The health clinic is up and running. For the first time, I called over and said, hey, can you get a kid in? And the kid had an appointment tomorrow. And so they're up and running.
And they do immunizations?
They'll do everything. So.
That's good to know. Well,
Thank you for the gift.
Yes, thank you very much.
see you tomorrow.
Now, I make a motion to.
See you in the morning.
Someone has to adjourn the meeting.
I'm waiting for the slide to change. I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Stand up.
They're already leaving the room, so. All right. I'll get the audio.
8:30 tomorrow morning at the light.
What is your business? Let me check on text.
All right, I can't get this to turn off, just so you're all aware.
That's fine. It's just
Someone already returned their gift to me?